Call to order, Village of Bartlett Plan Commission for December 9th, 2021, 7 p.m. Will the secretary call the roll?
Mark Hopkins.
Here.
John Miasso. Here. Austin Hopkins.
Here.
Jerry Callis.
Here.
Julie Kapatakakis. Here. Jim Lemberg.
Here. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the October 14th minutes.
Hey.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Second. Any additions or corrections? Secretary call the roll.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Austin Hopkins.
Yes.
Jerry Callis.
Abstain.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Julie Kapatakakis. Jim Lemberg.
Yes. Before we go any further, I'd like to welcome a new member of the commission over here, Julie. Could you give us a little background, please?
My name is Julie Kapatakakis.
And the mic.
There we go. I've been a resident of Bartlett for the last 18 years, raised my 2 children here. I also worked for the Park District for many years, so I'm very familiar with our community, and really I'm looking forward to adding my expertise as far as working with the community and also being a resident to add to the value of our community, and really looking forward to my time here and making a difference. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
This evening's meeting is a public hearing. If there's anyone that's going to give testimony or ask questions or anything, we have a witness form on that little shelf back there, or you have them. And you fill them out and hand them to staff, and we'll call you at the appropriate time. Also, staff, do we have the notifications for signs and got it all? Okay. Staff, would you like to give us a little background?
Sure. The petitioner is requesting a preliminary and final PUD plan for 2 properties in the Village of Bartlett on Lake Street. The west parcel is located between Moretti's and the car wash, and then the east parcel that I will be referring to is located on the corner of Lake Street and 59 off of Horizon Drive and the frontage road. The petitioner is requesting the PUD plan to allow 2 car dealerships on the west parcel and a parking and storage lot for those dealerships on the east parcel. To allow this, the petitioner is having to request text amendments to add the off-site parking and storage of new and pre-owned vehicles for motor vehicle dealerships to the list of special uses in the B3 and B4 districts, as well as regulations for those types of lots. The petitioner is requesting to rezone the west parcel from B3 to the B3 PUD neighborhood shopping district to allow the construction of the 2 dealerships. The one dealership will be a 55,000 square foot Hyundai dealership. The other building will be for an 18,000 square foot Genesis dealership. Parking on the site consists of 44 customer spaces, 66 employee spaces, 142 display spaces, 88 service spaces, and 6 car display pads along Lake Street. This exceeds the zoning ordinance requirement of 105 parking spaces. The petitioner intends to park and store additional vehicle inventory on the east parcel. So the building elevations have glass curtain walls along Lake Street, with the remainder being a concrete block base, aluminum composite panels, and EIFS. So this is the Hyundai elevation. There will be 2 curb cuts on Lake Street, utilizing the same location that the existing RV dealership has. The petitioner is requesting special use permits to allow a planned unit development, automobile and truck sales, automobile repair, a car wash, and for the building height to exceed 25 feet. They are also asking for several modifications from the zoning ordinance as part of their planned unit development request. There will be stormwater detention, will be in underground storage vaults located at the rear of the property. The petitioner has worked with staff to increase the landscaping between the storage of the vehicles on this site as well from the residences to the south. They're putting in a double row of evergreen trees. The petitioner has also increased the buffer along the west property line, which abuts 3 lots in the Bartlett Ridge subdivision. Along that property line, they have agreed to reimburse those 3 property owners a cost not to exceed a total of $25,000 for them to put additional landscaping on the residential lots. So that's part of staff's recommendation. We've looked at the agreement and think it looks fair, and that's something that we're including as one of our conditions of approval. For the east lot, they are proposing to rezone the site from the ER1 Estate Residence Zoning District to the B3 PUD Neighborhood Shopping District. The plan identifies 891 spaces for the parking and storage of new and used vehicles. The parking and storage lot has a full access curb cut on the frontage road, as well as one on Horizon Drive. One of the conditions staff is proposing is that vehicles are not permitted to turn left and go into the neighborhood in Eagles Ridge. They are requesting the special use permits for the off-site parking and storage of vehicles, as well as to fill a 0.09 acres of wetlands, which is located at the northeast corner of the property. Patrons test driving and employees transporting the vehicles between the sites will be utilizing the frontage road. I'm going to go back to the original site plan, the overall. So any traffic between the sites would be making a right-hand turn from the dealership. They'd be coming into the storage lot, leaving the site, using the frontage road, coming east on Lake Street, using the exit ramps, coming up on 59, and then coming back on Lake Street to make a left. No traffic will be utilizing Spalding/Horizon Drive in the Eagles Ridge neighborhood. There are 2 detention basins proposed on the east parcel, one along the ramp, the other one to provide a buffer from the townhomes that are located in this area. Staff is reviewing the engineering, landscape, and photometric plans for both parcels. Staff does recommend approval of the petitioner's requests, subject to the conditions and findings of fact outlined in our staff report.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Could you stand and be sworn in, and anyone else who's going to give testimony? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. Please be seated. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the presentation?
No, Christy did a great job. Christian, Roberta, and other staff worked closely with us over many weeks. There it is. Okay. My name is Attorney Peter Bezos. Take the mask off. I'm an attorney in Elgin. Pleasure to be back here this evening. So I just want to quickly say, I'm not going to go over again what Christy so ably presented. Mr. LaCorsio is the owner of the petitioner. He's also the owner of the Toyota dealership across the street in Streamwood and the CJD dealership across the street in Streamwood. We're happy to be able to work this somewhat difficult site out because he really wanted to bring yet another dealership that he has into proximity with his other 2 dealerships, and we're glad for you and for us that it's going to be in Bartlett. If all of this can get approved, we will be closing on the purchase of the west parcel before the end of the year. That RV dealer has the right to stay for up to 6 months, call it June. So we can't begin very much construction. We'll be doing a little mass grading in the back of the site before then. But then full-blown construction would begin certainly in June, if not before, on the village parcel, the east parcel that we'll be leasing. And the anticipation is that you'll see a new Hyundai and Genesis dealership open its doors in your community on or about June of 2023. So with that, our architect is here, Mr. John Swerk, our engineer, Bob Goodmanson, and his also his co-engineer, Andre Strelkoff. We're happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. I have a question or two for staff. On the west site, they're putting in storage vaults for the stormwater on the south end of the property. Is that correct?
Correct, the underground storage vaults, yes.
How large are those, and how much water is it going to hold?
I will let their engineer answer that.
Could you state your name and address, please?
You bet. Good evening. My name is Bob Gudmundson. I'm a consulting civil engineer. Firm is RWG Engineering, located in Wheaton. And we have had the honor and pleasure of working with Bob LaCourcio and his development team on this project, which we are very excited about seeing it get started. To answer your question specifically, that storage vault at the south end of what we refer to as the west parcel, or the old RV dealership parcel, will house a little over 3.5 acre-feet of stormwater. And we're talking about a site that is, the total piece of property, I think, is 6.2 acres in size. So if you can imagine, we're going to store the equivalent of almost 6 inches of water spread all across that site. That's a lot of storage. It will be in a vault. We will do the best management practices that incorporates volume control and certainly controlled release to an existing storm sewer system located to the south and east of the property.
What happens when those are full?
I'm sorry?
What happens when those vaults are full of water? Where does the water go then?
Oh, well, basically, the system is designed per ordinances for not only the village ordinances, but following DuPage County stormwater management requirements. The 100-year storm is stored in those vaults. In the event that we got 2 back-to-back 100-year storms, something of that nature, we design the site with what's called positive drainage, meaning that the water will not go in the buildings, it will migrate from north to south and head towards the southeast corner of that site, where it can be tributary to other basins that exist in the residential area to the south of us. Okay.
Okay, so those will be buried then on the berm that's going to be across the south side of the property? Is that where they're going to be buried?
The vault will actually be buried underneath the pavement.
Underneath the
The
pavement?
interesting thing, yes, because the interesting thing about this property, and if you're familiar with it, I suspect you are, there's a lot of fall across this property. There's somewhere 25 feet or more of vertical fall from the elevations on the property up against Lake Street to the elevations of the property at the south end of the site. So obviously we have to level out some of that to be able to create the pads for the buildings, and then we go into a paving transition. The vault it not only provides a stormwater detention for us, but it gives us an opportunity to excavate and create structural fill that we will use to level the site where it's needed to be leveled.
And what are these vaults made out of?
The vaults, we have one of 2 ways to look at it. Either it'll be a concrete vault, typical of one of the manufacturers local here is Storm Trap, and these are legitimate HS-20 loading, in other words, heavy truck loading capable vaults that go underneath the pavement. The alternative approach, and one that is just as good, is to use, and again, I'll refer to the local manufacturer, which is Contec, And that is a series of very large diameter, open jointed pipe that can bleed water into a gravel basin and promote some discharge via vertical absorption into the ground, but otherwise, those pipes provide that same volume of storage.
Have you ever used these on other projects?
Many times.
Okay. Okay, on the properties to the west over there, you said you're going to put an increased landscaping buffer from 5 to 14 feet between the parking area and a property line,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now that property where the cars are going to be parked is above the backyards of those people to the south. What's going to stop the water from running down into their yards? And the buffer that you're putting in there, you're only putting in evergreen trees that are 6 to 8 feet high. Their property is down at least 6 to 8 feet, so those trees ain't going to do any good. They're not going to block out any lights or any noise or anything coming into their backyards or in their second floor windows.
We also have incorporated into the project a fence that will be right behind the curb. The parking areas will all be curbed, and that, of course, provides a barrier so that water that is flowing across an asphalt parking lot can't jump up that curb. It'll go to the basins first and get into the stormwater management facility. But along the perimeter, the south side, the east and west side, we will be having a fence. It's a 6-foot-high fence with, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. Vinyl clad, yeah, thank you. Vinyl clad fence, and that will provide also a screening between the subject site and the adjoining residential, and then you'll have the trees behind that.
Okay, so right now there's a curb on the southwest corner of that lot, right?
Actually, today at the southwest corner of that lot, it's all gravel, and all that water right now, today, just sheets to the south.
That parking lot is elevated above those houses, and where it's elevated is a brand-new curb that's put in there.
Okay.
How are you going to change the elevation from that curb to those backyards so that they don't get water down there and they don't get noise and lights from those lights that are going to be in the parking lot?
There's a buffer of, at the southeast corner, I believe it's around 31 feet, if I remember correctly, right about there, there's a dimension. And at the southwest corner, it's closer to about 38 feet. And that area will be sloped at about a 3.5 or 4 to 1 gradient going up to meet the subject parking lot, the new pavement area. And that will be heavily landscaped. That was where it was referred to as the twin row of evergreen trees. And then again, on north of the evergreen trees, right behind the curb, will be that same fence that I was referring to.
And those trees that are 6 to 8 feet high are going to be high enough to block out the lights from the parking lot on the neighbors' second-floor windows.
Well, keep in mind, too, that all of the lights proposed on the site, we have to meet your photometric ordinances in terms of how much light we show as it approaches the perimeter of the property, and we use what are called rectangular cutoff fixtures, which have shades on them that do not allow that light to be thrown off the property. It will throw the light to the north.
Okay, and on the east property, who's going to repair frontage road? It's in pretty bad condition. Is the village going to repair that, or is a petitioner?
You want me to respond to that, or?
Well, you can, but that is currently under the jurisdiction of IDOT.
Right.
And I believe they would like to turn that over to the village. It will not be owned by the petitioner.
Okay, and then there's a fence between that frontage road and main road there, and the fence is broken. Who's going to repair that, and who's going to keep the weeds that are there now down to a point where, you know, it doesn't look like it's some poor condition along the highway there on Lake Street?
So along the ramp area or along the frontage road? So that we have a perimeter fence currently. The village owns the property. We have a perimeter chain link fence up there. I believe the petitioner is going to remove that, replace it, put a vinyl clad chain link fence up and new landscaping as part of the improvements to the property. But I can let them answer that.
Okay, well, not the fence on the property itself, but the one that's between Frontage Road and Lake Street. There's a fence there. It's only about 3 or 4 feet high, and it's broken, fallen down.
Removed. It will be gone. Yes. They don't want to leave that there.
Okay. Any members of the commission have any questions?
I think you covered it quite well.
What will the hours be that the lights and everything will be on and activities will be taking place?
I'm going to turn that to Peter.
So the hours, I know the hours of operation, I suppose the lights will be on all evening because of security, but they can no doubt be modulated.
So they would plan on to be on even at 2 in the morning?
I would think so, but I'm sure we can work with staff to make sure they don't all have to stay on, you know, like a little we can drop them down to just security level.
Yeah, I would hope that, yeah, you could work with staff on that. That's something I would like to see, because I'm sure the homeowners that are right around there, they're not going to want to see lights 24/7. They would want some type of darkness. And I know that you're doing your best to within our ordinance for the light pollution and everything like that. But even though we have the ordinance and everything like that, there's always still lights that will shine through and stuff. Yeah, that was my big concern, was going to be the lighting and everything in that. How many cars do you plan on having on the lot at any given time? Or how much does that vary?
Yeah, the goal ideally would be that on the sales lot, on the RV site, that all the spaces we show are actual employee cars and cars for sale.
Okay.
And then the other lot in a great economy, hopefully will be a full lot. Yep. They're not going to, otherwise they wouldn't build so many cars for the lot. And then going back to your lights, we do have 0-foot candles at the property lines. And like you said, we can work with the staff on that.
Okay. And then as far as deliveries, does that happen during certain hours? Are there going to be, will this be occupied, or will there be things going on in the middle of the night, 11, midnight, or deliveries and that type of thing happen only at certain times?
Yeah, I would believe that the deliveries, for one, I do know are always on the RV side only, where the two dealerships are.
Okay.
There will be no customers in the west lot, or in the east lot.
Okay.
The village lot, and normal hours of operation when the store is open.
Okay.
You have anything else?
I do have some comments.
Julie, do you have something?
Yes. Okay, so the east parcel, which is a very nice, attractive property, I do have concerns that it's going to be the sister property, more or less, of the car dealership. So I just want to be sure it's not the, forgotten sibling over there once you get rolling, and it's maintained just as nicely as the Genesis dealership and the Hyundai. So when you look, is there a picture of the development on the east side that's colored like that with the landscaping and that?
No, they did
Okay.
not provide one. Typically, we only request one of a building.
Okay, just to, I've seen these overflow lots for other car dealers before, and, I just would hope that it be maintained. I'm just sort of, going off of what we were just talking about with this particular property, but my main concern is the west property. The reason why I have a concern on the west property is I actually did visit that lot. I visited both lots this week, and it was very difficult. It wasn't easy to get out of the east lot, which is the one closest to the ramps, I was there approximately like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and, there's definitely, I think, a light that gets, that is over by the Toyota dealership, which you're probably very familiar with, since you're owners of that too. So there is time to get, to make that right turn onto Lake Street at points. But where the west property is located, when I tried to pull out of the existing RV dealership, it was very difficult. And I noticed that out of the two, can you bring, is that the west one that we're looking at?
Yeah, this is the west one.
Okay, if you could show the two curbs, like with the, I'm referring to the one on the left. That one is literally impossible to get out of. Because you're coming right down, you're going down, these cars are going, 50, 60 miles an hour. I don't know, maybe I'm off on the speed. And they're coming, and they're going around a curve. So it curves like right after, trying to think of what's to the left of that property. The car wash. So the curve starts right there. So if you're trying to pull out of there, it's very difficult to gauge, who's coming, let alone you're driving a brand new car, and I just bought a new car recently, so you're not familiar with it. And, and you're trying to, jut out into this traffic, and you think you're okay, but maybe you're not because you can't see really good. Now, the one on the right side is much easier to get out of and much safer. So I know this is under IDOT jurisdiction as far as what they're going to be doing, but I do make a recommendation strongly that this be looked at as far as being much safer on the right side, which would be the east side. And that's really all I have to say. Lake Street's, a rough, doesn't have the best history, so we need to make it as safe as possible. And that's all I have.
I have a question, if that's okay.
You have any other questions, comments? Did you? Go ahead.
With regard to that rear parking lot that everybody's focusing on, right, and rightly so, what kind of activity does it have? How many motions in and out in a typical day would you have there? Is it as highly active as, for instance, a retail parking lot?
I think the answer is no. Most of the back lot is going to be, most of the south part of the RV site lot, the west lot, is going to be storage, inventory storage. So we may have customers walking back with a salesman to take a look at that color or that color, and a porter may periodically drive one of the cars up, put a dealer plate on so they can go for a ride out Lake Street. But this is not going to be a hotbed of activity. I think it will be much less active than you would imagine a shopping center parking lot to be that has a Target in it. It's not. It's more storage.
Okay. And to follow up on that's good. Where does the vinyl clad fence go, or is this just a vinyl clad chain link fence?
It is a vinyl clad chain link fence, and it goes around, well, who can answer? I'm not a designer.
Retaining walls?
Say it again, please.
On top of the retaining walls that show in the drawings?
I'm going to have somebody that actually knows that answer tell you.
Yes, sir. The fence will surround, because it's as much for screening as it is for it's as much for screening as it is for security. So it will, in fact, go all the way around the parking, south side, west side, east side. Mm-hmm. And even where we have maybe a 2 or 3 foot high retaining wall, that's just to permit grade changing, that fence will be embedded within that. So it'll either be right on top of it or right adjacent to it. So we're not going to gap that fence, if that's what you're asking.
No, I was wondering if it was going to be solid enough to block headlights.
With vinyl clad with slats, it'll pretty well block headlights, and then with the
You're
landscape
talking about those
behind it.
woven in
Correct,
doodads? Okay.
correct.
All right, that's going to do some of it, because that parking lot's elevated, what, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet?
It's a vinyl clad fence.
There's no slats.
There's no slats.
No.
There's no slats?
There's no
No.
slats.
So it's just vinyl, it's just
Yes.
vinyl clad chain link?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Right, and I think everything seems to be working great, and I know that there's been extra attention paid on the west property line. And if everybody's happy with that, that's great. But, you know, there's a lot of difference between that 30-foot south buffer and the west buffer to those two residential lots, right? Maybe what we need on that west property line, just the west one, right, because of the lack of dimension, because the elevated nature of the parking lot. And if it's just an old chain link fence, that's not going to stop anything except somebody falling over, right? Then maybe we need something to block headlights on that west property line. I'm just
Bartlett
suggesting.
Ridge subdivision does have a wood fence. On the Bartlett Ridge subdivision, there's a wood fence there.
Well, what's the difference in the elevations, Christie?
I don't have the, you guys didn't submit final grading, so I don't have the final grading.
I don't have that in front of me.
I think, you know, everything has been so carefully planned. I know that there's been an awful lot of attention to this issue, and, you know, maybe it's covered. I just don't see it yet.
You know, we can, if it'll satisfy your concern, because we're trying to be good neighbors
The
too.
fence on the Bartlett Ridge is here, and your chain link is here.
Yeah. No, I get it. What I was about to say is we can work with staff. We could on that west line, maybe Christie or Roberta, can you show where we're going to provide funds for additional landscaping on that west line, southwest line? We could also add slats to the fence along that section.
Very helpful.
We'd be happy to do that. That'd be fine. Well,
No.
we'll do whatever they allow us to do.
We've got to come up with another alternative.
I think come up with another alternative, because you're talking about headlights there. All those parking stalls are pointed right at the houses, right? And it's right there on the property line, and it's elevated.
But those cars, sir, will be backed in. Their tail lights will be facing the west line, and again, they're
Oh, if you
storage.
said back in only, you put a sign up that says back in only.
We could do that too. We could do that too.
No, I understand. First of all, there's not many motions. Right. But we don't want somebody getting their car at 10 at night, flip it on, and illuminate everybody's backyard.
Totally understand. We'll back in only, that's okay.
Any other questions, Mark?
That's it.
John, you have any?
No.
No. Jerry, you okay? Have any questions? No?
You guys have been taking good cranks at it. Just doing what I would say, so I agree with you.
Okay, and at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Staff have any?
We have one, Michael Murphy.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Michael Murphy, 1098 Horizon. First off, I'd like to thank the commissioners for their time and their volunteering, staff for their professionalism and their dedication. I don't think there's any harm in a little skepticism in our neighborhoods for proper urban planning. Just as a reminder, and for all of us that live around here, back in 1997, when Stearns Road was proposed as an arterial route, our village was vehemently opposed to that because of our frontage houses on the east end of Bartlett. We fought that. We got responsible development. I hope we have responsible businesses to our community. I'd like to have you as neighbors. So skepticism is called for. I believe the east lot is was designed for, Horizon Drive was designed for residential use and not commercial. If you look at that hairpin turn there, coming off Lake Street, going east, it's not designed for tractor trailers to come in and drop off cars. The grade there is a 12-foot, the right-of-way is insufficient. It's 12-foot lanes with as little as 2 to 6 feet shoulders. It's already torn up, as you said earlier, and it needs to be redone. And somebody has to take jurisdiction of that. I don't know if it's going to be our new owners, but it's not fair to our new owners if that's what they're going to get as part of this, or if it's the village is going to have it dedicated as our property for the village. But it needs to be addressed here. I think it has to be part of this parcel, and I would urge staff to come up with a recommendation for the proper development of Horizon to make it commercially friendly for trucks. One of the commissioners asked about tractor trailers coming in or deliveries. They're going to be coming from out of state. They come at all times, and if they arrive at the middle of the night, they're going to be standing someplace in the area. I don't know what your policy is for your existing lots, but we will have truck drivers in our neighborhoods 24/7. So unless we address that issue and make that a line item to be addressed. Lake Street, with the curb cuts as it is, I haven't heard anything about an IDOT report and the concern of IDOT with the curb cuts. That's a 5% area of accidents, and that calls for special attention from Naperville Road to Lake Street. Oh, I'm sorry, to 59. So somebody has to look into what our commissioner was saying about how tough it is to get in or out of Lake Street. We want to maintain the ability for our friends to drive through the area safely. I don't know if it can be done, but if we can have east access off that property out of the east parcel. But I don't know if we have to have a west exit out of that parcel on Horizon Drive that goes north and south. We have very mature hedge line there that I'd like to see incorporated into your landscaping. It's beautiful, mature trees. I think it's good for our community. I'd like to see it stay in our community, and I would like staff to make some recommendation on that. So pretty much to sum up, I would like to just hold this back a meeting or two until our community can get a chance to address this, or we can discuss this with our commissioners and staff. I tried to meet with our village planner or our engineer, Christine, and was told this is the forum to discuss it. So I don't want to take up too much time, but there's a whole bunch of line items I would love discussed. I feel bad about the lighting for my neighbors to the west, and I would like that addressed. Possibly we could make a recommendation for 8-foot wood fences that are more neighborhood-friendly than business-friendly. Obviously, there was some miscommunication with slats and stuff. I can see that from a development point of view. So I would urge patience here and responsible community development, and I hope to see us in the neighborhood in the very near future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is Shannon Jordan.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Shannon Jordan, 1256 High Point Court in Bartlett. So my house is actually the southeast corner of the lot. That's my backyard. Nope, all the way, sorry. Right there, that's me. Yeah, so my concern is definitely the fence, the lighting, how close it is to my backyard. As it is right now, the RV lot did expand their lot to be closer to my neighbors' houses. to my neighbors that are to the west. So when that 8-foot fence, like you stand in their backyard and you're looking at the 8-foot fence, the RV basically looks like it's sitting on top of the fence because of how the elevation is. You know, they're talking about how there's that drop. So like, I just know that I'm gonna be looking at cars right there above my 8-foot fence. So I would definitely like to see another solid 8-foot fence on the back of the lot, if that is possible to do. And I really hate that the parking lot is gonna be that close to my backyard. I don't know if this is set in stone, that the lot is gonna be that large and that close. I also don't like the idea of 6 to 8 foot tall trees that are gonna take 20 years to block anything, especially when there's already just such a big elevation change from our yard to where this parking lot's gonna be. And so I'm just hoping that more of that can be done. I'm wondering, I think you said the berm in the back, is it a 31 foot from like my fence to the parking lot? Okay, so it's just a drop off.
They haven't done the final, they have not done the final grading, the final engineering yet, so we don't know exactly how.
Okay, yeah, because what you all brought up about water drainage and coming towards our house, and I just hate the idea of looking at a car in the back, having the big lights on all night. As it is, the lights that are on the RV lot already shine into our first floor. So you were talking about second floor, I can tell you it already shines into the first floor as it is. And as they've knocked down trees for their development since we moved into the house 2 years ago, it's just more and more light. So if some consideration could be taken to just have some sense of privacy still, and you know, reducing the light and not having to see all the cars. I mean, I feel like basically someone's just gonna stand at the back of the lot and just have an aerial view, you know, into my backyard. What was my other question? I guess that's it. I was just hoping they had pictures of the fence that they were considering, but it sounds like chain link would not be the way. I don't think any of us would want to go. So that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else have a question or comment? Here we go. State your name and address, please.
My name is David Hull. I live at 1250 Spalding Road, and we are just beyond the entrance of the ancillary parking lot. So as the Horizon Road comes in, as you can see at that edge, the road takes off, and that's where all the residences start. But if I'm not mistaken, did somebody say there's going to be an entrance on Horizon into that lot? Is that what that little that one right there? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What this may incur is having a lot of people have to go around to Naperville Road and around to West Bartlett to get out on there, especially during the construction. And then when this is in operation and people are pulling cars out, you know, a lot of us leave at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what the hours of operation will be, but I know that an automobile dealership seldom sleeps. And so you know, it's going to be very busy and a lot of traffic. I had heard somewhere that there's a plan possibly to put traffic lights somewhere up in this area, perhaps at the left turn lane off of Lake Avenue onto the frontage road and into Horizon. Is that correct?
That would be up to IDOT.
Okay. Got it. All right. Well, I don't have a whole lot more questions, but yeah, that's, I'm hoping that a lot of that light, even though it's not going to necessarily affect where we live, up away from that area, but it's going to be kind of difficult, and, you know, it's a change, as the other gentleman mentioned, that, you know, needs to be addressed, and, you know, there's going to be a lot of light there, so it's going to be an interesting set of changes. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, state your name and address, please.
Noreen Plaga, 489 Horizon Drive. I'm trying to get a feel for this, this lot that's going to be to the east parcel. Like, how lighted is that going to be? I haven't heard anything tonight stating how that is going to be kept secure. I look out my back window and I can see all the way to 59 and Lake Street. I can see a stoplight. That's the only light I see from my pointage. And I back up to or parallel to 59. So looking at this parcel, is this lighting going to be on that parking lot? East parcel, what kind of lighting? You say you need security. Has anything been planned in terms of lighting?
They have submitted a photographic plan. They are proposing lights on the site. These X's that you see throughout the site are where they're proposing light poles. We did put standards in on what the foot candle measurements can be. They can't exceed 0.2 at the property lines. And we're requiring that the lights be shielded as well.
But how much open light would just be there beyond, you can shield light, but I can turn one lamp on in this room and there's going to be light going out in all directions.
I don't want to speak for the petitioner, but you're going to see the lights.
In what degree? Is it going to be a feeling like it's daylight?
They would have
If I
to-
look
they
at
would
the
have to answer
dealership
that.
across the street, the Elgin Toyota, very familiar with it. I mean, I could turn off my headlights and drive down Lake Street for all the ambient light that's created from the dealership alone. So that's where I'm trying to get a picture of. The front of that dealership at night is as bright as anything that I see along Lake Street. I literally could turn off my headlights driving down Lake Street. I want to feel for, would that parking lot have that much lighting?
Peter, do you want to address that? Or, okay.
Okay. And also wanting to know if all of the existing landscaping from the frontage road, beginning of Horizon Drive, going into the beginning of our subdivision, Eagles Ridge, would that landscaping be removed, as this parcel seems like it's going to be on both sides of Horizon Drive, correct?
No, this is east of Horizon.
It's all going to be on the east side of Horizon Drive? It didn't look that way in the one picture. Where's Horizon Drive?
Horizon Drive is right here.
Okay. Going back and around. All right. Somehow I was thinking it was in the middle. That answers that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? No one else? Then I close this portion of the public hearing. Would the petitioner like to make any comments to what the...
We'd like to answer just a couple of questions. First of all, your comprehensive plan shows not only the RV site, but also the east parcel as B3, as business retail. So, you know, I guess the village has planned that there be commercial activity here, that this is not going to be park area or dark area at night. The RV site has lights themselves. That said, it's been pointed out correctly that this, the west parcel is elevated above the homes. So if you can imagine that there'll be a fence up at the top, at the high elevation, and there'll be double rows of bushes on the neighbor's side of the fence, which will start out at 6 to 8 feet and will grow to, who knows, 15 or 20 feet. When you're looking up like that, actually, it's better screening when you're looking up than when you're looking down and over. But again, I'd like to just mention that this is your plan for commercial activity, and let me have John Swerk now, our architect, talk about the lighting. Thank you.
Sure, before I get to lighting, talk about this south property line with the woman, I forget her name, Shannon, I believe, mentioned that when she looks up her house now, up the yard, she sees a fence and then like an RV parked on top. Our fence will be at the top of the parking lot, and if we have cars parked, you won't see the cars because the fence will be up high by the curb of the parking lot also. So you really should not, you should see the fence and landscaping and not the cars. One other item was on the east parcel, there is a entrance to the parking lot also off the frontage road, not just Horizon. So it's a matter of coordinating which road gets used most for the deliveries and access to that site. So that could help that out. And then the lighting, the new lighting is all LED lighting, which is much more directional than, I believe Maureen mentioned that you put a light bulb in there and it just kind of shines all over. LED lighting is designed at point lighting where it needs to be done. So it's a lot more consistent than typical lighting from 5-10 years ago. So it will be lit up, but what's odd too with LED, the foot candles almost appear like it's darker when you're in a parking lot because you no longer have what they call hotspots. You used to have a lamp with a metal halide, very bright below and it kind of spreads out. LED is constant all the way around and gives us clear cutoff along with a shield at the property lines. So like driving down 20 and seeing lighting from other dealerships shining Route 20, that won't happen here because we have the cutoffs and directional LED. So hopefully that addresses that. Thanks.
Wait, before you sit down.
Anyone on the
I
commission?
thought I knew about lighting, but I don't. What I've heard so far is that the criteria that we're going to use is 0.2 at the property line, 0.2 foot candles, right? But what's going to be the difference between the general illumination level along Lake Street, where you have the displays of your cars and all of that, you're doing all your sales, and this back storage lot on the east property, or on the west property, and the general storage lot on the east property? I assume that there's going to be a very strong general illumination level, right? Average foot candles, or however you're going to measure it, right, on Lake Street, in the front of the dealership.
The front of the dealership, but not Lake Street.
Rear, you don't need that much. So I understand high cutoff fixtures, yeah, but that's part of our ordinance, and then, you know, the limits at the perimeter. But what's the general illumination on the back of
Do you
that?
have the photometric on the screen?
I do not have, because you can't really see them.
Okay.
Look,
let me see if
we're
I
in a
get the numbers
position
on
as a
my
plan
iPad.
commission here, that tonight, one of the findings of fact is that we're going to be satisfied that lighting is appropriate, right? And I haven't heard yet that it is.
Right, so if you look at the, I'm just going on my iPad so you guys can't see this, sorry. But if you look at the east parcel with the minimal lighting at the property line, the average is about 4.5 foot candles on the entire parking lot of the east parcel. So it's not very bright, 4.5 foot candles. If I go to the dealership, the front parking area where you have cars outside, those are about 17 to 20 foot candles along Route 20. In the back, we go 8 to 12, so about half in the rear.
Yeah, why isn't it the same as the east parcel? You got plenty to find your keys, right?
Right,
You do
right.
that in one.
Yeah, we can work with talk to the owner and.
Let's get that general
coordinate with staff.
illumination level down on the west property, because that's the one that's impacting everybody.
The back of the
Right?
property,
And
right.
if that's just being used for service storage, right? Employees and what have you, four's plenty,
Right.
right?
Yeah, so the foot candles, though, is still gonna, at their backyard, you're still gonna see the light.
You're gonna see the light, but you get, you get general illumination, you get bounce off all the objects. You're gonna get bounce off the objects, and it's gonna illuminate the back of the building.
Right.
It's just
We
light.
can't- We can't have all black buildings,
You
all
can't
black
deal
cars.
with it, but if you take the general illumination down, you take the force of the impact off, and you're still plenty safe and operational.
We can work with that.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. I don't know who can address it, but as far as on that west lot, with the cars that are going to be parked on that backside, and obviously we're going to have to wait for those trees to grow for that to be blocked. I know there's the fence, but if it's a chain link fence, aren't you just going to see through it and see the vehicles?
Yeah, I'm not so sure if that was for screening purposes or for security. I know we have the landscaping that meets the requirements for the village.
I know when I just look at Google Maps here and I pull it open and I look where the RV lot is, I can see the houses in the back. So yes, the trees are going to help, but it's going to be a while. So I don't know if the petitioner is open to putting an actual vinyl fence that can't be seen through or wood to help with sound.
I'll just use the good old-fashioned way. The houses are down lower than this level. The fence is here, and then the double row of evergreens is here.
Okay.
So you have to see through the evergreen, it's too late now, thank you. You have to see through the evergreens and then through the fence, which you can see through a chain link fence, you're right. But I don't see how you're going to see through those evergreens, even though they're beginning 6 to 8 feet high when you're looking up, and they're planted that close together. That looks to me like a solid shield of evergreen, and we're committing to give a solid, tight planting right out of the gate. Okay?
Do you know how tall those trees are going to be, what's going to be planted? Are they going to be 6-foot trees planted or
Yeah, when they're planted, yeah,
when they're first planted?
yes. And again, you're going to be looking up like that, so you're going to be looking into the foliage of the plants.
I think that's a real concern, and it sounds like you're trying to address it and that you're working hard at doing it. But boy, it would have helped if you came in with a couple of site sections, right? To show the differences in the elevation and the slope with the trees on it and how high and just something that helps illustrate the picture you're trying to paint. When you go into the village board, man, I suggest that you have that ammo.
We'll take that with us, but I guess it's going to be, first of all, it's going to be as I described, and secondly, it's going to be far better than what exists right now. Far better. So
I agree. I think it would be definitely better. But, I mean, you think new construction, what's the cost between a chain link and an actual vinyl or wood fence, down, and to save, to help the neighbors back there and stuff like that? I think the cost would be, for a dealership of this size, relatively low. So I would just hope and suggest that, maybe you guys would be open to that when you go to the village board.
So, sir, do you mean like on the south property line?
Correct,
the fence
yeah.
should be vinyl, solid vinyl?
Some type of either solid vinyl or wood, whatever, whatever would be easier.
I assure you
just
that's
my
no
suggestion.
problem. No problem.
Something solid rather than chain link, and it would look better.
If you want to make that recommendation and the staff likes it, we're prepared to do that. That's not a problem. We don't want to do that all the way around because we don't want to have the feeling like the whole thing is fenced in, but the shielding is more important to the south, so that's fine.
Our staff's
and to the
request
west.
would be on the south side and on the west side, adjacent to the residential.
Yes.
I'm comfortable with that.
Well, you want to try to craft a recommendation then?
Yeah, we can work it into a motion.
And I'd like to at least mention general illumination levels of somewhere in the neighborhood of 4-foot candles on the south lot of the west property.
Are there
I'd like
any
to make
further
one more
questions or
comment too
comments?
before we close out. Yeah, the frontage road, so now we're going back again to the east property. The frontage road, one of the gentlemen that spoke tonight mentioned that he didn't feel like, car haulers, I don't know what you call those, the tractor trailers would be able to clear that way with coming into the entrance. Now, I'm not sure about that part. I hope that IDOT will address that is safe, for them to make their way in. But what I'm wondering is it possible during construction and once the dealership is up and running, that there could be a sign that says that the tractor trailers have to go into the entrance off of the frontage road and not to turn onto Horizon? Or I don't know during construction if that's possible at all, because it might not be. But at least once everything's up and running, that those trailers aren't trying to pull in on the residential road.
And I think that does make sense. If you have a trailer, when you get through security gate or something, why have them on Horizon?
Yeah.
On a frontage road?
Great.
Yeah, that should not be a problem.
And I'd like to make a positive comment. I think it's a wonderful plan that you guys have made.
Thanks. And as far as during construction, all the construction activity can happen off the frontage road.
Great.
And that Horizon Drive doesn't really affect any of the traffic, because you're just building a driveway there.
We'll appreciate that.
Why don't we make that as a recommendation that all construction traffic will be staged and enter on the frontage road? We could do that. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
see any problem with that, right?
Wait a minute, okay. Want me to do it, or you want to do it?
You can go for it.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I'm sorry, the public portion has been closed.
Working. Point out, with these LED lights, if you want staff to take a closer look at the final photometric plan, so there's different, what is it, Christy? The Kelvin level? The color temperature. So there's variations in that. It goes from cool to warm. And sometimes the warm colors are less harsh to view, and that's something that staff can take a look at when we get those final plans. So I'd be happy to do that. And we've put maximums of 3,000 K on the apartments across the street.
3,600 maybe?
Yeah, we did 3,000. So,
Really?
it's residential, we
yellow.
get it, and it's warmer light.
That's actually the requirement as part of the text amendment, one of the standards we put in there, which they are meeting on their photometric plan.
And the petitioner should do what he wants to make his cars look great on Lake Street, right?
Lake Street, I'm just talking about in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds great. That sounds great. We should probably match the east property.
Right.
Okay,
Anyone else?
I could do the recommendations if you want, or the condition.
Okay, then, seems like we have some questions about the west parcel and not as many on the east, so we're going to have two votes, one on the east and one on the west, okay? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the petitioner's request for a preliminary final PUD text amendment, and on a west parcel rezoning from the B3 neighborhood to B3 PUD, along with special use permits for planned unit development, automobile and truck sales, automobile repair, car wash, building height, and the conditions and finding of fact.
And with an additional condition, you're on the west property?
You want to add something to that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That there's a general illumination level maximum in the south parking lot of the west lot of approximately 4,000 foot candles, and the petitioner will work with the staff with the view of reducing the impact of light on the neighboring residences, and that the petitioner provide an opaque fence of a style and design acceptable to staff on the west and the south property lines.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned 4,000 foot candles.
No.
Four, right?
No.
I think,
Sorry, okay.
I'm not specifying temperature with the recommend.
I thought you mentioned foot candles.
4 foot candles. Did I say 4,000? That's a little bright. That's like the You knew what I was saying?
Yeah, a little bright.
Okay. So those two conditions, the lighting and the fence.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second.
Second.
Okay. Secretary, call the roll.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Julie Kapodakis,
Yes.
Jim Lumberg.
Yes. Okay, now we have a motion for the east parcel to approve the petitioner's request for rezoning from the ER1 Estate Residential to B3 PUD Neighborhood Shopping, and special use permits to allow off-site parking and storage of the new and pre-owned vehicles of motor vehicle dealerships, and to fill in .09 acres of wetland, and the conditions and finding of fact.
Like to add a condition? If the Plan Commission accepts that, and that all construction activity would be accessed only from Lake Street and would not proceed south from the development into Highland.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Secretary, call the roll.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Julie Kapodakis,
Yes.
Jim Lumberg.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you and good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you guys for being very open to the changes as well.
Yeah.
That's very much
It's a nice
appreciated.
project.
Next item on the agenda is old business and new business.
So we will have a meeting next month. We have one item scheduled, just to let you know. And then, go ahead. Do you have questions, Jim? Oh, okay. And you each received a little token of our appreciation. Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate it. And I would like to specifically call out Mark Hopkins, who is celebrating 25 years this year. So thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
You got a little extra something in your bag.
It's whiskey.
And then, again, we'd like to welcome Julie Kapodakis to the Plan Commission.
Yes.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome.
And we hope to see all of you tomorrow night at the holiday party.
That's it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the gifts. Merry Christmas. Anyone on the commission have any questions or comments for anything? No? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?